Alright, my name is Andrew Davis. I'm doing my presentation on Tourette syndrome. Tourette syndrome was first recorded in detail by Gilles de la Tourette in 1885. Tourette syndrome is characterized by mainly motor and vocal tics. Tics are just involuntary body movements of the body. Motor is through muscle, and vocal is through voice. It could be anything from sniffing, grunting, or saying full words or phrases. Motor tics can be full body movements or small little movements. For example, motor tics can be your neck, like that, or it could be something as little as the thumb. Vocal tics, sniffing or grunting, or I do this one thing where it's through the side of my lip. It's weird, but like that. I don't know, it's weird. Tourette syndrome is also associated with different comorbidities that include ADHD, OCD, depression, and learning difficulties. So Tourette syndrome has no known cause, and medical professionals believe that it could be possibly hereditary, or possibly stress related to childhood events, but there's no evidence for either one of those that can definitely say it's caused by this. Researchers have found that Tourette's is linked to dopamine levels in the body. So an increase in dopamine will also increase the neural firing patterns within the muscles, which can cause tics or of that nature. Tourette syndrome is normally diagnosed between the ages of 4 and 6, and it has to be diagnosed by a medical professional before the age of 18. Tics can increase in severity and frequency during puberty and during the teenage years, as that adds more stress to their situation, and different hormone levels and imbalances going on within the body can affect Tourette syndrome. Tics normally disappear or fade away in the late teens, early 20s, but sometimes they just stick around for life. Some common behaviors for people with Tourette syndrome include motor and vocal tics. These tics can be exacerbated by level of stress, excitement, or even fatigue. For people with Tourette's, a common theme that is described to let people understand how we feel sometimes is that of the premonitory urge. So the premonitory urge is a feeling that you get right before you have to tic. To be able to describe it, the most common way to describe it is that of an itch. So if you feel like you have an itch that you need to scratch, that feeling of having to scratch that itch is the premonitory urge that we feel before we have to tic. One common one I like to use is the feeling of breathing. So if when you hold your breath and that urge that you need to breathe again, that's the feeling we have to have when we tic. So ticking is like breathing to us. One comorbidity of Tourette syndrome is something called coprolalia, which is swearing involuntarily. This has been publicized heavily through like TV shows and movies and music. but really it only affects roughly around 10 to 15% of people with Tourette's. Um, it's normally a very high extreme form of Tourette syndrome, and that's what most people associate Tourette's with. Treatment for Tourette syndrome is simply there's no cure for it. The medical community is developing new ways to help decrease tics, their severity and their frequency, to help people with it cope through everyday life. The first step in treating Tourette syndrome is simply education of the person with Tourette's and their family and friends, so they know and understand what is actually going on. One good stepping stone is called habit reversal. So this is where they will take a tic and replace it with another movement that is less harmful for the person, as some tics can become hurtful to themselves over time or cause injury. Medication is the second step. So medication is used mainly when the tics have become too bad, or they're unable to control the tics more, or they just become bothersome in everyday life. This is when the medications will come into play. Two common categories of medications would be antipsychotics and blood pressure medications. Antipsychotic medication example would be haloperidol, and then blood pressure medications would be like clonidine and guanfacine. The third step, which is commonly not used and is in sort of a trial stage, so they don't really understand how it completely works just yet. It's called deep brain stimulation. This is where they would put electrodes into the brain and send electrical signals into the brain in it to help fire different neurons within the brain or release different hormone levels within the brain. This treatment form is for the most severe cases of Tourette syndrome. A new form of treatment is now being looked into, and it's fairly new, is simply through exercise. There's not really many or really any controlled studies for exercise decreasing tic severity or tic frequency. There was one study where a few people with Tourette syndrome were taken through moderate exercise, like kickboxing, and was modified for the person, which has shown to decrease tic frequency and tic severity shortly after the exercise bout. So it has acute effects from exercises. That is one area that I'm interested in, is learning more about how exercise can affect tic frequency, and I would not mind performing a study on how different forms of exercises can affect tic frequency and severity. The goal that I chose was playing game competence and leisure activity and relaxation. I figured this would be most beneficial for people with Tourette syndrome, as they will be able to get in their moderate form of exercise, which could benefit and decrease their tic severity and tic frequency, as well as teach different relaxation methods as a way to relax. People with Tourette syndrome tend to not be able to relax throughout the day, as the body is constantly moving, or they're fighting the body from moving in ways they don't want them to at that time. So just learning different forms of relaxation can help benefit people with Tourette's come later at night when they come home from school or work and need to relax, which can be beneficial. So to end this, I'll just tell you a little bit about myself too. I do have Tourette syndrome. I was diagnosed at 7 years old. I guess that's it for Tourette syndrome. I'm pretty open about Tourette syndrome and how I deal with it. Open to any questions at all. Yeah, I guess that's it. Thank you, and have a good day.